State, one person in Albany. So she can't do this job. It's impossible. New York State says, okay, now counties can regulate, local municipalities can regulate. I'm in Suffolk County, and I know Nassau is the same. We have to beg Consumer Affairs. We have to bring the proof ourselves to Consumer Affairs to get them to go investigate pet stores. They haven't fined all of them, and we've shown direct violations of the county law on every pet dealer in Suffolk County. I am certain Nassau is the same. There's something called the CVR, just real quick. It's an interstate shipping record. So when puppies are shipped from Missouri or Kansas or Nebraska, Iowa, there's it's called a certified vet inspection. The CVR is nothing more than a vet physically looking at the dog, not an examination, and saying it appears free. It actually says that, appears free of defects. So in that 30 seconds, the puppies go through. Hunt Corp is a processing facility. So when the CVRs are done from Hunt, they have vets on staff. I will have you know that the vets on staff at Hunt Corporation estimate themselves that 220 pounds a month of dead puppies are dumped in the ponds on the property. So whereas Hunt Corporation gets gleaming, perfect USDA inspection reports on the inside, the Missouri Department of Natural Resources fined them for pollution for filling their ponds on the property with dead puppies. So there is no way that Hunt Corporation or any other broker is actually doing the job it's supposed to. So when you say get the broker out, I'm actually very in favor of that, because I just want to read from one USDA inspection report itself. I printed this database online where you can get the USDA inspection report. You can search by breeder name or USDA number. This is Justin and Lene Jackson of Jackson Kennels in Kansas. The CVIs that we foil from New York State, which by the way are 6 months late because they're so backed up, show that pet stores on Long Island have purchased pets from here, even since the law has gone into effect. So they're already violating the law. This shows one direct and 4 indirect violations, even though the law says 2. One adult male Shiba had a swollen mass of tissue between the middle toes. The dog was unable to place any weight on his foot. One adult lab has a swollen mass of tissue between the middle toes. Both had on the middle toes of the right front and rear feet. An adult female elk-hound has a swollen mass of tissue. A Siberian husky was observed limping. The licensee stated that this was the first time it had been noticed. On page 2, one adult female German Shepherd has an open wound on the top of its ear. The wound was moist, reddened, and inflamed. There was also a yellowish, creamy-looking discharge around the edge of the wound. This is 5 dogs in one direct violation. Housing and general facilities. So one violation for housing and general facilities affects 6 dogs, 1 dog and 5 puppies. Another outbuilding, they're not even facilities, they're sheds, they're tool sheds, they're rabbit hutches, they're not facilities, they're not nice places. 2 to 3 inch cabins, 4 dogs are in contact with this area. This is another housing and general facilities, 10 dogs, another housing, 10 dogs, 18 dogs in another. But every housing in general is one violation. Feeding, filth in the food, crime or rust. So anyway, these few violations, when a pet store has only a few indirect violations, they actually affect 5 dogs directly affected and 54 are indirectly affected by cruelty. Now, one more time, real bit. In September of 2014, Chester Gibson, the head of the USDA's Animal Care Division, which is an oxymoron, and Robert Gibbons, the USDA head of the Midwestern region for breeders, went to a breeder meeting and apologized to the breeders for enforcing the law at all. There was a 2010 audit report of the breeding facilities that was scathing. A lot of people, reacted, said this has to stop, we can't allow it. Since the focus is off that now, it's been 5 years. These 2 people who were supposed to care about the animals are actually siding with the bad breeders. So they actually said, and this has been reported, it's been in the newspaper, USDA officials told breeders that, quote, if at any time a violation has the potential of affecting your business, please call our office immediately and let us know, emphasizing that the USDA stands ready to enable breeders to market their dogs to stores. So this inspection report was September 2014. September 8th. This was done on September 30th, where they told the breeders. On February 12, 2015, This is the inspection report for the same kennel.
I've given you many minutes.
Okay, sorry.
We have lots of votes, 3 minutes.
But anyway, there are no violations since that, so the USDA can't be trusted to do their job, the state can't be trusted to enforce, and the counties aren't doing it. It is really up to the local municipalities.
Okay. Thank you for testifying. Just as a general reminder, try to keep our comments, everybody I know is very passionate about it, we love that. But if you could try to keep your comments within 3 minutes, we would appreciate it, so everybody can be heard. Deborah Berry, thank you, Ms. Montague. Deborah Berry? Oh, sorry. No problem. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I didn't prepare. I didn't know I was going to
You checked, yes, that means you get it right.
And yes, my name is Deborah Barry, and the address is 670 Bolton Avenue, Bolton.
Baltimore, New York.
Thank you.
I'm here because the pet store, they have to believe that there is no problem with pet stores. And if you're all here today, there is a problem. There obviously is a problem. I went to a pet store. I thought that the volunteers and everyone against pet stores, they were being extreme. You know, there are some people that are extreme about everything. But I was scared of the dog, and the dog was sick. I almost had to put the dog down. It is not just the dog that is suffering. It's the family. It is the children. It is the whole family. It is very difficult to see a dog sick. In winter, the best thing you should do is put it down. Okay? I found out she had an autoimmune disorder, and we were able to treat her with certain supplements and food, but it took me a long time to get there. And for the first 2 years, I wondered if I would be better off putting her down for herself. So when you consider all the suffering that goes on with the dogs, with the families, with the volunteers, so many people are affected by this. For the benefit of a few mom and pop stores that do not run their business responsibly, if they ran their business responsibly, we would not be here today discussing this. There would be no problem. There is a problem. I bring my dog here today, and I can show you she's not healthy. There is a problem. And I want to thank you all for bringing this up. Thank you.
Keith Stevens? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Keith Stevens. I reside in Bethpage, but I was born and raised in East Meadow. Good morning, Supervisor Murray and all other esteemed council members. I urge each of you to vote in favor of adopting Chapter 153. I thank you for your patience in listening to the numerous arguments made by all of the people in support of this, and I will try not to be repetitious of what they already said. They were all well spoken. Simply put, adopting Chapter 153 is the humane thing to do. Rather than listen to me, listen to quotes from the ASPCA. ASPCA, who is a mainstream group, defines a puppy mill as, quote, a large-scale commercial dog breeding operation that places profit over the well-being of its dogs, or are often severely neglected, and acts without regard to responsible breeding practices. According to the Humane Society of the United States, puppy mills contribute to pet overpopulation and cause countless dogs a lifetime of suffering and squalor in their wire cages. Simply put, animals in pet stores are not just dollar signs with 4 legs. No one can deny the fact that pet stores obtain most, if not all, of their companion animals from these horrible places. Enacting Chapter 153 would, of course, require pet stores to provide the town with a certified list of breeders, prevent pet stores from obtaining animals from breeders convicted or investigated for animal cruelty, prevent pet store owners from providing their animals to medical research laboratories, prevent pet store owners from euthanizing companion animals, and require pet store owners to spay or neuter their pets before releasing them to the public. In addition, enacting Chapter 153 would provide our companion animals with more room to stretch, roam, and play while held in confinement. It would provide them with measures of safety against potential fires, and it will provide them with adequate food, water, and exercise. One thing my colleagues did not state is how enacting Chapter 153 would benefit the human beings who reside in the town of Hempstead. I have heard countless complaints from people who adopt cats or dogs from pet store owners who only learn shortly after the adoption that these animals are sick or deformed. Preventing pet store owners from obtaining their animals from subpar, if not criminal, organizations who overbreed their animals and fail to provide the necessary medical care would surely cut down on the amount of lame and genetically deformed animals that are adopted out to the public. Further, requiring these pet store owners to spay or neuter their animals would provide some relief to our animal shelters, as the number of abandoned, unwanted animals would surely decrease. The attorney who spoke for the pet store dealers was very well spoken, I would admit, but don't let his intelligence fool you. Basically, the arguments came down to two words: money and superfluous. Basically, they're saying that you need to limit the animals to, limit 10 to 12 animals per store. Why? For money. Well, these animals need to play, eat, and sleep. Fire sprinkler system, too expensive. Gee, what's more important? Spending money or saving animals from dying alive in a fire? Let's see, breeders, the breeder law, superfluous, so what? How would it hurt to include that in the town of Hempstead legislation? What else? Restrict to Class A. He said it's impossible to only deal with Class A breeders because they have to travel upstate. So what? That's the cost of doing business. If they don't like it, get out. Next, euthanizing animals. They say they don't euthanize them, so there's no issue. That's great. So why does it hurt to put that into the law? Spay neuter. They said there's potential medical problems. I don't disagree with that, and I don't disagree that they shouldn't have to bear the cost of the vet. But that only should be put on the consumer. Next, they say they comply with the minimum requirements of the federal government. Really? That's something to be proud of, the minimum requirements of the federal government? Local governments have a right to be more restrictive on people. Okay. Members of the council, you can either adopt Chapter 153 and be known as a council of still the puppy mills with all their inherent evils and help promote the welfare of both humans and animals, or reject 153 and be known as a council that succumb to corporate greed. The choice is yours.
Good afternoon.
Felix Procacci, 1165 Orange Street, Franklin Square, New York. In the law, why is the pet store being considered a place of public assembly? And I see that it's not in the definition in the town law.
There are some other portions of the building zone ordinance that will have to be amended if and when this bill is passed. And so that's why you don't see it in other places. But the reason it's called a place of public assembly is that it complies with the various rules concerning the places of public assembly.
Okay. In the case, this is all my questions that have to do with clarification. As far as a pet dealer who breeds pets out of their home, would that be considered a pet store, providing they do breed above the number that's specified in the law? If they breed and raise and sell dogs out of their home, would that be considered a pet store or a place of public assembly?
Yes.
What additional fees would be charged, if any, pet store owner by considering this place, his place of business, a place of public assembly?
Well, just the application fee and the inspection fees to get the public assembly license.
Is it nominal or is it excessive?
I don't know what the fees are. Building departments here, they can probably answer that for you, but I don't know the fee.
Okay.
Commissioner? Franklin?
Supervisor, I believe it's $100.
Does this law allow the town to inspect the premises at any time without notice, even if it's a private home that is only being suspected of being a puppy mill or a pet store or,
Obviously, we're not in the habit of breaking private homes, but as to places, retail businesses, yes, they can go in there and come.
They could go into the back room, and just not in the
They're
retail.
in the apartment or the.
There's a basement and
Animal
stuff.
control officer would have the right to.
So they could go through without any getting special court orders or anything like that.
Well, hold on a second, let me not say right, but there's thousands of cases on that issue, about court orders and so. The answer is, we feel we have a right, there's thousands of cases on that issue. Whether or not a building inspector has the right to just go in. We feel we do have a right.
I know that the town code does indicate that building inspectors are peace officers, and I think if I remember correctly, and I have the text in front of me, that they have the right to just show their credentials and enter on the property. And there's a lot of contradicting law that states you can't do that. So,
Correct, but there is case law that goes both ways.
as far as records being kept, with the, as far as the utilization, medical records, readers, would the town be able, with this law, able to just demand these records on the spot that say, let's go on ABC, we want these records, what you've done between May and
Well, you need to be reasonable. I mean, a building inspector can walk in the door and say, let me see your records, and the retail store can say, okay, they're with my accountant or something.
No, I understand.
The answer is yes, we would demand, we would ask for the records.
So
And they have these,
they would have to supply, yes, no specified period of time, when would they have to comply with that?
a reasonable period.
Reasonable. I know that the law uses the word reasonable a lot, and unfortunately, some people think different about what reasonable is. Okay, all my questions are done. Thank you.
Mary Ellen Craig?
My question was just about the laws relating to Uniondale, and they were all in the area of Northern Parkway School, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Everyone else, we'll get to you all. Good afternoon. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Becky Swanee, I'm at 29 Carolina Avenue, instead. I feel that this is I feel that as a prudent society, we need to pass this law because we need to make it less easy for people to get puppies and kittens. I believe that it's just like my dogs are like my children. And I believe that we need to take our time and not have them in stores like clothes. Dogs and cats are not like a piece of clothing that we can put on and have at our convenience. It hurts my heart because I bought a dog. I bought my beautiful pygmies from a puppy mill. And my daughter worked there. And she was sick. And my daughter had a heart for this beautiful pygmies. And she nurtured this pygmies that came in sick. And quite a few of those animals came in sick to these puppy mills, and you had to separate them from the other animals. And I believe that this should be passed. I don't care who doesn't do it. Just because my mother said, because your friend jumps off a bridge, will you do the same thing? If nobody else does it, Town of Hempstead, we should set the example. We should set the example. It's a shame that that lawyer said, or that gentleman that came with that lawyer, don't believe the hype. We can't, how does he know that in our shelter, those dogs did not, or puppies, or those cats and dogs didn't come from those puppy mills? He can't check the DNA. It's unfortunate that the euthanasia is happening in our town shelters, and that it's unfortunate that the statistics show that we're flatlining. We should be able to, more people should be adopting and not buying, because we can't feed ourselves here in the town of Hempstead. And it's a shame before God that people are not adopting from our shelters. And I saw your push this summer to adopt. but we can't afford to feed ourselves because we can't pay these high taxes. So let's encourage people not to buy and to adopt and to go around and get these cats and dogs and let's spay and neuter them so that they're not running all over the place. During Hurricane Sandy, a lot of people lost their animals. And so it's unfortunate that it's on the taxpayers that we're paying. It doesn't cost $500 to spay and neuter. Let's stop telling lies. Because I know it doesn't cost $500 to spay and neuter. So let's tell the truth and shame the devil. That's what my mother said. And I know Kate Perry and Ruby, y'all know my family. We're gonna do what's right for the town of Hempstead. And let's be leaders, not followers. Let's lead in the state of New York.
I'm sorry, I did have actually a few more speaking slips, I'm sorry, that said indicated yes. I have Margie Morvita. And then I have Lucille Spina and Lillian Lennon, and the yes speaking slips. Good afternoon.
I am here today in support of the
Could you speak?
proposed legislation that they want to grade, and would also just like to make one comment on what the attorney had said about refer to animals as products. That's offensive. Is that better? Did you hear what I said? The attorney for the pet shop owners just made a comment. He referred to the animals there as products, which I thought was offensive. With that said, I would also like to just talk briefly about your shelter. I recently rescued a pit bull 2.5 months ago. I had the pleasure of working with Nancy Gieris, Wendy Cariella, and Dolores Stormo. She's the volunteer coordinator. The volunteers that were involved in her adoption created a webpage for her, which basically led to me adopting her. In addition, they were able to do a fundraiser and raise $2,000 in less than a month to have a behaviorist come to my house and work with Paprika, which is working out wonderful. So I guess my first question would be with respect to the director.
Well,
Yes.
this is specifically about the legislation itself.
Okay.
You know, we're trying to provide our remarks, that's all we'll take up this point. We have time for miscellaneous comments, if you have things off, or things to say off the legislation, I would respectfully ask you to say them at the end of the formal portion of the meeting.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Lucille Defina, 2749 Merrick Avenue, Merrick. I, of course, completely support this bill, and I want to say thank you to Kate Murray and the board for making this happen. And if this bill can be passed the way it is now, the way it's drafted, I will actually be proud to be a resident of Town Hempstead. And I have to say, in the 5 years that I'm coming here to town board meetings, I have never been able to say that in regards to how we care for our animals. Of course, this is most important to me because this does affect our animal shelter in every way. being an animal rescuer, a cat rescuer who lived inside that shelter for 14 years, how anyone can say that these animals do not come to our town shelter is speaking purely from ignorance.
That's right.
As he was speaking, a few images came to mind, and I cannot tell you how many mornings I've walked into the town Hempstead shelter to find in the sick room and the isolation room and the back room beautiful adult cats, Persians, Angoras, Turkish Angoras, Russian Blues, who were in horrendous condition. And whether I rescued them or got someone else to come in to rescue them, or the shelter cleaned them up, made them healthy, and put them on the adoption floor, that is still our tax dollars working to make something very wrong right. And that's not fair. This is costing us money. These animals are coming in horrendous shape. They are being used purely for monetary gain of a few pet store owners, and that's not right. So this bill can really make a difference. I have also seen many kittens come in, and I'll never forget a litter that I found in the animal shelter of hairless kittens filled, covered with ringworm. And when you trace the records, you would see that they got dumped in a box. Other kittens were turned in, a Persian kitten with hair loss, which was also ringworm, traced that back, only to find a woman bought the kitten, had the kitten for like 8 weeks, went to the pet store wouldn't take back the kitten. This kitten, she couldn't afford to spend thousands of dollars. And where did it end up? In the shelter. She was afraid to tell them when she surrendered the kitten. So the kitten didn't come in as a purebred with papers. It just came in as a stray, found. Meanwhile, that kitten cost the taxpayers, again, thousands of dollars. And this is all for what? Just to help a few pet store owners? When Mr. Glass said, well, by what you have in this bill, we can't compete with other pet store owners. Well, what about the poor animals in our shelter? They can't compete either. And this is who we have to protect. And as local government, I am so proud that you're looking to do that. And I hope that you all stay very strong and that you stand by this bill and you protect the residents and the taxpayers and our animals who are suffering in the animal shelter instead of a few pet stores that are looking to make a huge profit. Thank you.
Lillian Lennon? Share your name and address.
My name is Lillian Lennon. I'm from Eastern Riches, Suffolk County. I'm a retired high school teacher, and I volunteer for RSVP Inc. Animal Welfare and Rescue out of Riverhead. I was happy to see some other Suffolk County people here supporting this, because Suffolk County has already passed a puppy mill law, and we're glad that Nassau County is finally getting on board. So, long overdue legislation. It's imperative that we develop the protocols necessary to assure the welfare and safety of the animals and the care of the pet industry throughout this country, this county. More important, which by the way cannot be emphasized enough, there needs to be complete, transparent disclosure as to exactly where the puppies and kittens originate, so as to assure that this same industry is not patronizing puppy mill distributors notorious for their inadequate, deplorable conditions, which they continue to breed animals with little, if any, regard to the care of the mothers or the offspring. Ironically,
Since reputable breeders would never sell their puppies or kittens to a pet store, it's conceivable that the source of the majority of these animals do originate from such facilities. If you connect the dots, you'll find the source. That being said, it does not matter, and this is a very important point we made in Suffolk County, because we had a lot of pet store dealers constantly bringing up how clean that pet store was, how impeccably they take care of the animals. This is the main point I'm trying to make here. It doesn't matter how well the animals are being cared for currently at the pet store, or whether the aesthetics and cleanliness of the pet store meets the standards above what's currently regulated. No one is arguing that. We would like to know where their, as they call it, quote-unquote,